Kasey Kahne is making a surprise NASCAR comeback. Tyler Reddick's unbannable paint scheme was deleted on Thursday, re-uploaded on Friday with some big differences. We'll talk about that. And the MX-5 Cup race at Daytona on Friday went full iRacing. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. I'm not doing a local weather update for you all for where I live, but we are going to talk about the extended forecast for the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium that will be happening next weekend. Right now, when I looked at AccuWeather, or maybe it was the Weather Channel, I don't actually know which one I was looking at, it appeared to be in the low 50s with a chance of rain on Sunday morning, but clearing up throughout the day and not going to be an issue at night. I'm totally fine with that. Low 50s seems like a win at this point in January, or technically February, when we get there for the temperature. So I know people are probably gonna be like, oh, it's really cold. At this point, 51 degrees, I'm wearing shorts. It cracked 40 the other day, just randomly. I put a sweatshirt on. I was like, this is amazing. No more jackets for me. 50 degrees is going to feel like summertime. So everybody that's headed to the Clash, definitely bundle up. You're going to need it when the sun goes down. The temperatures also go down. I will be at the Break Hard West headquarters out in Colorado doing some skiing, but I will be tuned in as well, and it will definitely not be 50 degrees. So let's get into today's actual news, though. And we're going to start with, unexpected comebacks for 500, Alex, because Kasey Kahne is making a NASCAR comeback, albeit a one-off, but it's still cool to see him come back. Kasey will join Richard Childress Racing, driving the number 33 car in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for their race at Rockingham on April 19th. That is an off weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series, the lone off weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series in 2025. Kahne will drive that number 33 car, sponsored by HendrickCars.com, obviously a team he used to race for. Hendrick Cars has basically become the Monster Energy of car dealerships, and they're just slapping their sponsorship on anything for anyone as it currently stands. But for Kasey, this is a comeback that I don't think anybody expected to see. He hasn't been in a NASCAR National Series race since the Southern 500 in 2018, when he got out of the car after that race and was suffering from severe dehydration issues. And then that has seemingly carried on, and he retired from the sport, essentially. Just hasn't been in a race since then. He has, of course, raced dirt with the World of Outlaws, and then he did a full season in 24 and will do a full season in 25 with the High Limit Series. And those short burst races don't affect the dehydration issues that he had been having with those longer, 3-hour NASCAR Cup Series races. If anybody remembers him getting out of the car after the Brickyard 400 when he won that in 2017, the guy won and he was excited, but you could tell that he was absolutely drained from that. And it seems like those issues just carried over into the 2018 season when he was Levine Family Racing, and then obviously forced him to get out of the car. But for Kasey, he has a history at Rockingham. Obviously, we all remember, well, most of us, if you were too young, I say all of us remember, as if 2004 wasn't literally 21 years ago at this point. But he did, of course, come up just short of winning in his second ever NASCAR Cup Series start in Rockingham back in 2004, when Matt Kenseth beat Kasey Kahne to the line there in a photo finish, the last NASCAR Cup Series race at Rockingham. And maybe we'll go back in the future. But then Kasey went back in 2012 when the Truck Series made its return to Rockingham, and Kasey won that race there. Fun fact, Kasey Kahne has an average finish in the Truck Series of 1.2. Only one time has he ever not won in the Truck Series, and that was a second place finish at Pocono. So for Kasey, he's going back to a track that he has had success at before, never won a NASCAR Xfinity Series race there, but he is bringing a wealth of knowledge to this race. Also, the fact that he's joining a team that produces very fast NASCAR Xfinity Series car, that being Richard Childress Racing. And he's going to have, an opportunity to go out there and do it, because I would imagine that there's a lot of Cup drivers that aren't going to be making that Cup Series or that Xfinity Series start that weekend, because they're going to want to enjoy their one weekend off. So for Kasey, he can maybe come in there and put on a bit of a show, which I think would be really fun to see. Obviously, he's going to be teammates with Austin Hill and Jesse Love, and he can probably show them how to get around that racetrack really well. Rockingham, of course, is not the same type of Rockingham that he raced back in 2012 or even in 2004. The track has been repaved since then. It does have safer barriers now and a couple other upgrades as well, thanks to, the So in yesterday's episode and on TikTok, if you follow me on there, I talked about Tyler Reddick's unbannable Jordan paint scheme, which is in reference to his 1985 Jordan 1, where the NBA banned it because it didn't adhere to the compliances that they had to be 51% white, all these other things. Nike in turn, turned it into a marketing campaign that the NBA had banned it, this and that. Well, on Thursday, the team deleted it from their social media accounts, and Reddy's like, okay, yeah, it was definitely a calculated placement. It was cheeky. It was all of those things by putting unbannable everywhere. Of course, they are in a legal battle right now with NASCAR. So there was some, undertones to it, and they went ahead and took it down. Well, on Friday, that graphic and tweet made its return to the team's social media account, and it said, just like the graphic, the 45 is back. And then it had a new updated graphic, which you can see right here, the clear differences between the two of them. On the left, you have Thursday's graphic, which has the rear end of the race car, and it has unbannable across the trunk right there. It also has the red, taping that has unbannable as well on the graphic. And then you on the right side have Friday's updated graphic, which is white without the unbannable tape and the rear end of the race car. So I think while somebody in the graphics department put together a really good graphic on Thursday and people were, maybe potentially trying to send this subtle message, somebody else on the other side of things was like, hey, not on the NASCAR side of things, let me clear that up. I mean, somebody like either in legal or somebody a little bit higher up within the organization was like, hey, probably shouldn't poke the bear in this situation. Let's just, we're going to run this paint scheme. Obviously, they are re-releasing that shoe in February as well. So it coincides really well, but it's also a calculated placement on top of that. Let's not poke the bear in this, and let's go ahead and put the graphic back out. That is, without all of the unbannable, mentions across it. I will note, though, that this car is predominantly white. The graphic is predominantly white because when this shoe was banned by the NBA, like I said, it had to be 51% white, and the shoe was not that at the time. And now this car is white as well. But the season hasn't even started. We've got our first little bit of drama going on between the sides here, which I honestly don't think anybody from NASCAR said anything. I would bet that they didn't, actually. And I think this was more of a team thing that, hey, let's just take that down, put it back up. Yeah, we're going to run this paint scheme. But, it definitely created a bit of discourse on the internet on Thursday, maybe a little bit more than what they had originally anticipated. And then the last topic of Friday comes from the Mazda MX-5 Cup race that happened on Friday morning, and it delivered, but not in the way that you would expect it. At Daytona, when it comes to the MX-5 Cup races, we always expect them to have these photo finishes at the end of these races. And on Thursday night, we didn't get it. Race finished under caution, and we were robbed of a potential maybe good finish. Well, on Friday, we were all waiting around for that potential good finish, but it took all of 10 seconds for this race to go under caution because we had a massive wreck before they even got to turn one. NASCAR isn't even in Daytona yet, and we got our first big one of the year because iRacing happened in real life as 17 cars got taken out in the opening crash of this race. Literally, the green flag drops, the inside car just goes to the outside, and then all chaos breaks out behind it, as you can see right here. It was just pandemonium. There's people going everywhere, and we had the person that started 31st on the field was in 10th after that first lap. They were only green for 10 seconds. That's a 21 spot gain in 10 seconds to go up there. Like they're James Busher coming out of turn 4 at Daytona and winning their first Xfinity Series race from 11th to 1st. Things like that just don't happen every day. Regardless, it was one heck of an accident, and they proceeded to ride around under caution for the better part of 26 minutes. It took forever to get this wreck cleaned up, but I understand it because I couldn't red flag it, because then that would have potentially delayed the WeatherTech IMSA final practice, which then would have pushed into the Pilot Challenge race. And I think it just would have been too much of an accordion effect, so they had to unfortunately run this. But hey, we did get a photo finish at the finish line. The guy in second just made his move too late to really get up alongside of him, but it was still 0.03 of a second margin of victory. So still pretty close for the Mazda MX-5 Cup. They are now off for 5 more weeks until they get to St. Petersburg with the IndyCar Series. On the streets of St. Pete is going to be a fun Mazda MX-5 Cup race to watch as well. They are not doing Sebring this year with that series, so we'll see them on the streets of St. Pete. But for now, let me know in the comments what you think about Kasey Kahne coming back, the unbannable paint scheme going away, coming back, and the Mazda MX-5 chaos that happened on Friday. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.